turned into a rescue center. The place was a zoo, so we have a lot of exotic animals and also like animals that cannot be released. For those, we do like a lot of enrichment and animal training, so I'm gonna give you some example about that. Then we try to do a lot of education throughout tours, government training, and also we just started like a vet students program with the Lao Veterinary School in Vientiane. So it's like the first time they have a wildlife course in all their diploma, and yeah, they really liked it. It was very interesting. The other activity is about volunteers, interns, and researchers that we host in our center. We have a couple of breeding programs that I'm gonna give you the species, and after that I'm gonna go on with rescue and rehab and release. So about animal training, I wanted to talk about this case that was very interesting. So that was like a leopard that spent all his life in the zoo. He was about 16, 17 years old, and he was blind. So that makes the training a bit difficult, but very interesting. And to do that, I used smell. So smell and hearing to try to train him. And the goal was to draw blood from his tail to make sure, because he has like arthritis, was not like getting too bad with the painkiller that we're giving him, and his liver was still like okay. I can show you the video of how I did it. I put like on this stick the end lavender extract, so that's how he could move and recognize and go where I wanted him to go. And on the other side of the stick there was like the reward. And so I tried to make him move, make him stretch. And he was like very, very good at recognizing the smell. And I could go from like one end to the enclosure to go back, and he was like just following me. So very interesting case, and like this kind of enrichment is, I think, one of the best cognitively and rewarding for the animals. Okay, then enrichment. So we try to give to all the animals we have daily enrichment, at least like once a day, even if it's been hard lately, to keep with that. So this is just a couple of examples with the crocodiles to make them move, jump, having some hunting natural instinct, because they tend to be obese in captivity. And then a video with these elephants. So the thing we did is like there's a huge icicle that we tied at the top of the beam. So every day we make a layer with water and fruits, then water with honey, and at the end of the week we have like a huge icicle like that, and she can spend like 20-30 minutes trying to break it and make it fall down so she can eat the little piece of icicle. So this one was very great because it kept her busy for at least like half an hour. Okay, here go with education. So one of the tours we have in LCTW is just guided tours around the center with ambassadors, and the other one is enrichment tour. So people can come and spend more time, and we explain them about how it's important to do enrichment with the animals, and they prepare it with us, and then we go. They can pick a group, like for example bears, crocodiles, whatever they're interested in, and then we give the enrichment to the animals, and they can see that and see how the animals interact with the enrichment. And yeah, it's better to have more time to educate those people, and yeah. The second education part is government training. So what we do mainly is to train them on how to handle animals when they do confiscation. So we also provide them with equipment like bite gloves, crates, and yeah, sometimes they have absolutely no knowledge on how to handle wildlife. So they either like hurt themselves or hurt the animals. They also don't know how to care about the animals, what to give between the confiscation and the time they give the animal to us. So we try to provide them like knowledge about diet, how important it is to provide like water to the animals, and yeah. And the last one is about the vet student course. So when they came for 9 days, and we try to give them as many knowledge as possible. So for example, like health check, how to draw blobs on a snake, on crocodile, on like many other animals, and yeah, they can spend time with the vets. We also train them on dart gun, on like husbandry, and many different topics. So the volunteer, interns, and researcher. So when volunteers came, or like interns, they can be part of the daily life in our center and try to learn from like the permanent staff, and also researcher. So we host like this year and last year people trying to do thesis or PhD. There's this person that came for 6 months doing like research on macaques, and during those 6 months she was able to like do her research with all the macaques we have, and we have a lot. But then at the end, now we can use all the data she collected and information for our release plan, and that's been like very useful to like both of us, kind of a win-win situation. Okay, the breeding program. So this is the 4 species we can or we do breeding program. The first one is Siamese crocodile. We have about 90 crocodiles in our center. They came mostly from like a crocodile farm. So we tested them 2 years ago, and unfortunately the lab lost half of the samples. So we only know that 12 of our crocodile are pure Siamese, and we just like took the DNA samples 2 months ago to see like if we can have more pure Siamese to have more participants in this breeding program. Then we have hog deer. We still doesn't have the capacity to do the breeding program, so it's like in pause now. And then 2 species of tortoise, the elongated and yellow-headed. This is ongoing, and we have baby like quite often, and when they reach like a decent size or age, we release them. Here I have a video of the first baby. We got Siamese crocodile. So the mother, just after they hatch, took the baby and put them back into the water. So they do that to stimulate the baby because it doesn't know how to swim, and so it helps to make sure that it doesn't drown. So this is like a very important part of, and that's the only thing the mother do for the baby, and then you can see it swim away. But that was kind of a mistake from us, because what happened 2 days later, the 3 babies that hatched were gone, so probably killed by one of the parents. So yeah, we're gonna try to learn from that, and next time we have eggs, we're gonna separate them from the parents. And so that was all about like the activities we do, but one of our biggest challenge right now is the relocation. So about 4 months ago, we heard like a very bad news from the government that didn't want to renew our land lease. So we have to move the whole center to another location, and the government doesn't help us in any way, like with lands or anything, just, okay, can you go please? So the first part was like to find a new site, which we already have, and it's not that far from where we are, like about an hour driving. And while trying to find fundings to build the new enclosure facilities, we are trying to either relocate, release, or transfer our animals, because now our goal is to just focus on endangered and critically endangered species. But still, while doing like all these works, we are still rescuing animals and trying to take care of all the animals we have in the center, and hopefully with funders we can build a new site and keep going with our work. Okay, so now about rescue, rehab, and release. So first, rescue. This is like the different ways on how or why we receive animals. The first one is tip-off. So through like all the social media, TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, we get like people that say, oh, my neighbor has like a gibbons, I've seen him in a cage. And so then you can provide the information to the government, and hopefully they can do the confiscation. The government, on their own, they also have like their own network, and sometimes like without us knowing, they will bring us animals, even if it's very rare. The other things that works quite well is the hotline. So this has been funded by the EU, I think about like 3 or 2 years ago, and we receive a lot of calls from people, and it's always anonymous, so they feel safe. And because it's not owned by the government, they are not scared of calling us and giving information, because we know like people in Laos are very scared of the government, the military, so sometimes they keep and they prefer to be anonymous. And we have a few cases with people just hand over the animals to us because they don't want to, or they cannot provide any more care to the animals, or they just found it injured on the road or whatever reason. Okay, and now rehabilitation. So that's the last case I did with rehabilitation. We have 3 golden jackals. So I'm going to explain you the kind of test or experience kind of things I'm doing to make them as wide as possible. So I have some kind of framework with about 10 categories. The first one here is like diet. So with doing a lot of research, I know like what kind of diets they will have in the wild, and I will try to provide it in the most natural way as possible, to make them used to what they will find in the wild. So for example, like we give a lot of live animals and see how fast they can hunt, like what they do with the prey, they killed it, if they just leave it or if they eat it, different kind of things. But also like because they are omnivorous, they can adapt, so they are like very good candidate to be released. I provide them like fruits, like berries, or like if they eat roots, vegetables, I will try to bury it on the ground and see if they can smell and find it, like dig, that kind of things. And then I have like a scales of notation that goes from 1 to 5. 1 would be like the best response, 5 the worst, and depending on all this notation, if they get like a good grade, the best possible, that's like good candidate to be released. And obviously there's like categories where it doesn't enter in the notation. For example, if like they are not scared of humans and like they would attack a keeper, or like being aggressive towards humans, they will directly be like cancelled from the rehabilitation. Then I have like few others like categories, for example like predators, fear, so humans goes into this category, but also like leopards. So what I will do is play the sound of a leopard on a speaker, like on the side of the enclosure, and just observe how they react, what are their behavior during this test. And with this one, I will only do it once because I don't want them to get used to the sound or like, yeah. Then I will observe the social behavior, the dynamic of the group, and yeah, different other categories. And so here's like some of the tests. And I do like the observation through either CCTV, camera traps, or like binoculars on my own. So this was a live chicken, and yeah, you can see he like catch it like very fast. And what was good is like they didn't release the prey until it was killed, and then they directly eat it. And this was like something I noticed after they ate the chicken. So that was like where the chicken was held, and you can see the jackal just like rolling. And that's like a very interesting behavior. So that's like scent rolling, and they would do that for like two purposes. The first one would be to communicate with others, so they would get the smell on their fur and go tell the others, look, I found like this carcass or like this prey, you can now follow me and we will go get the food together. But also to camouflage themselves. So they will get the smell of the prey on themselves to like the next time they're gonna hunt, to be less detected and doesn't spread their own smell. So that was like very good skill that I observed. The next one, for example, was to recreate like a bird nest. So at the same time of that, we had two Oriental Bay owls. So I just like collect the feathers from the enclosure, create like a fake nest birds with coconut fiber or like vines, put like 3 raw eggs. I put also like a dead quail inside, and yeah, then I just like see what they do with that. So it's like very simple to do, and just try to use anything that I can find in the center with like others animal. Like, and then I can just renew the test to make them used to like, because it's all the time like for the first time very new, so they are curious but also scared of what will happen, and the more they are used to find those kind of settings, then the better they will be to find it in the wild. I also do it with like antlers from deer that we have, so whenever the antlers fail, I will put it in the enclosure, make them used to smell of prey, and that will help them a lot, obviously, hopefully. And that is what I found with the camera trap without doing any test. So also, that's very interesting. It's like you see jumping like a small wild frogs in front of the jackals, and he finally like got it. So that's very interesting to see like they hunting by themselves, and even in the enclosure there is wildlife coming through. So yeah, he was able to kill and eat the frog, then have the same one with grasshopper, and yeah, you're gonna see it flying over there. So those kind of observations are very important because like I can make sure they are ready to go back in the wild and to survive. So then the next step of this rehabilitation was to build a soft release enclosure on the site of the release. So this is the image of the new site where we're gonna be. So that's like a very nice place. It's linked to ecotourism place where they have like canopy bridge and zip line, different kind of things. So we were able to use some of their path to then go into the jungle to build the soft release enclosure. So that was some of our journey to go build the soft release enclosure. It took us about like one day and a half to go build it, so it was pretty fast. It's not that strong, but it's just to make them hold for like about 2 weeks to 3 weeks, and it's just above the canopy bridge. So then we are able to feed them without them seeing us, so there is like no more contact with humans. The bridge is like 30 meters high, so yeah, it's also like inside the jungle, and hopefully during this time, yeah, they get less contact and they get more wild, but they are still being fed, and they can also like get used to the new environments with like the sound and the smell, all of that, so make them less stressed. And then we're just gonna open the gate. So yeah, the way it's built is just like a net mesh that we tie on top on trees with nails or like knots, and on the ground with stake like every 10 to 15 centimeters that yeah we put on the ground. And yeah, we're gonna put them in this enclosure as soon as I got back from this conference, so it's gonna be very interesting to observe them. So then the other examples of rehabilitation that I wanted to talk about is birds of prey and crested serpent eagle. So the hard thing with this bird is to provide a natural diet, which is mainly snakes, because obviously I don't want to catch wild snakes to give it to him. So what we did found is eelfish that really looks like a snake, and I just put them in a small layer of water. So this snake, when we received it, he didn't fly for like many years. He was kept in a cage and had like atrophy on his muscles. Like the maximum length he could fly was about like 10-15 meters, and then he was exhausted. I could see it like bathing like just after. So the training was about to make him fly and make him hit as much as possible to build up the muscle. So I used like many different items to kind of scare him and make him fly. And every day I was going for the training, make sure he ate the day before, and then I was making him fly until he couldn't do it anymore. Time the recovery time until he could fly another length. And I could see through the days and the training that the recovery time was getting lower, and also he could fly more and more. The controversial parts about this test was like, I was scared that he got like very used to me and to humans, and he's not scared of me anymore, but the opposite happened. So I was using different items to make him fly, like a broom, a net, trash bag around the room, different things, and he actually like hates it so much that he gets like more afraid of me every time I was going in. So I had to go like less closer to make him fly throughout the days, which was very interesting. And after about a month of training every day, he went from flying 20 meters and like 2 length to about like 12 to 13 length. So he like almost do like 10 times better than what he was able to do in the first time. Also, I noticed something that can maybe be helpful is he wasn't almost all the time like scared of the tools or the item I was using, but of the color of shirt I was wearing. So most of the time I had the same uniform with like a blue shirt, but sometimes I didn't have them anymore. And I used like a red shirt, and he was getting super scared like more than the other days. So like the bright color, like red and also like yellow, I noticed, make them like very scared. Also, changing people for the training was very helpful. So I had like an intern that was helping me with this project, and we did like 1 day each. And so this also helped to don't make them used to like the person doing the flight training. And yeah, at the end, we were able to release him because he was able to fly like enough distance. He was eating, so I could see him like eat the eelfish like every time and super fast. So yeah, that was like a quite good example of rehabilitation that I wanted to share with you. Then I have some videos of, that's an owl hunting. So there's like a quail down the screen, and we can see it like go to get it quite fast, and then yeah, just keep the prey until it's dead and eat it. And that leads me with the last topic, that is release. So how we do the release, it's first trying to find the best location where we know the species are there, because we want them to reproduce or help the population. And in Laos, there's about like 2 sites that are viable to release, where there is enough protection, so there is less hunting in those places. And to access them, we have to take a boat. So first it's about 10 to 12 hours driving from our center, which make the transport very hard, because during this time we have to feed the animals, make sure like they don't get dehydrated, and then take the boat. But that's also helping us to make sure we are as far as possible from any human settlements, like villages or anything. And whenever we found the best spots going up the river, then we can stop and just release them there. And yeah, this is like very wide area. And then I have a couple of videos of the animals we released lately. So there is a yellow-headed python. That is supposed to be a leopard cat.
Nocturnal species.
Yeah.
Okay, well, technology.
And the last one was 2 binturongs. Nocturnal as well, that's why it's blind.
Oh, the python's working.
Okay, and that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Which next presenters need to prepare? Next presenters from Singapore. While he's getting ready, questions? 1, 2, okay, lady.
Hello, good morning, Andy. Thank you for your interesting presentation. I have 2 questions. Okay, if your conservation trust is open for public, And do you charge the entrance fee? And second, and how do you rehab the binturong? And how you assess he is already okay to release? Thank you.
So yeah, the first questions, we are open to the public. It was free for local people to come and visit, and the price for the tour for foreigners is about, I think, $23, and for the enrichment tour, which is like almost half a day or like 3 hours, this is about $40.
US dollar?
Yeah.
Okay. And the second
And the
question?
second question is about binturongs. It's the same kind of test, but I adapt them to the species. So one very useful skill that the binturong should have is like climbing, but also using his prehensile tail. So what I will do is to make sure they can hang the whole body with the tail, is put the foot in place, like down branch, where I know the distance is gonna make him use the tail only to reach the foot. Like with that kind of things, I can make sure like their climbing skills is good. And the other part is provide the natural diet. So binturongs, there's no predators that can like kill them in Laos. There's no more like tiger or like almost no leopard. So it's quite easy on that part, and they are omnivorous, so they can eat pretty much everything from little prey, like opportunistic prey, to like a lot of fruits. So it's as long as they can find food by themselves and they can climb, they are pretty much like ready to be released.
Yes, we can have
Sorry.
one more question. What? Okay,
Okay.
here first.
Andy, you said that the government did not help you with finding the new land at all, okay?
Yeah.
So this alternative site, how do you acquire it, and are you paying for it? Was it donated or what?
So it's like a concession. The ecotourism resorts has like about, I think it's 3,000 or 5,000 hectares, and they just like provide us with like a small part of the whole property, and so we don't have to pay for the land, and they're just gonna give us like another concession. I don't know how long it's gonna be, how many years, but yeah, we don't have to pay for the land for like this first step.
Okay, thank you.
Question? Quick. We are almost ready for the next one.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah, Andy, as you probably know, I worked at the St. Rescue Center many years ago, and recently there's been news coming out that the place will be closed down, the land is to be returned to the authorities. Do you have any idea what's going to happen to the place if that indeed happens?
So it's like the military that's gonna take back the land, and it's already happened to the like villages next to where we are. So they already kicked out people to extend their military base. So we assume they're just gonna do the same. We've heard like I don't know if it's rumors or saying that Lao wanted like a Lao Airlines force, and apparently they just want to extend all their military skills with the war happening in Russia, and they have like connection with Russia, with China. So we don't know if it's
the contract for the land is finished. So but what's going to happen to the animals?
Oh, the animals. So it's either we're gonna release them, took them with us to the new site, or transfer them to like any other centers or like zoos, especially the exotic species that we still have from the zoo. We're gonna transfer them, and yeah, like I said, like focus on critically endangered and endangered species mainly on the new site.
The problem is that there is only 3 bears in Bungwan. And
Yeah.
there are no proper zoos in the whole country of Laos. So, okay. Well, I just wanted to
It's a hard and long questions, and we are doing it like species after species. So now our main focus is about macaques and assess like which group can be released. We're gonna release them, and then yeah, just keep going with the time we have to do the best.
Thank you very much. Very quick.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Thank you.
Kind of.
I would like to share our experience in Indonesia regarding
Okay.
government land that we have to, turn off the kind of program something. Yeah, in Indonesia, all of the if we have a MOU or official cooperation with government, in one of the articles is clearly stated that all of the assets of this cooperation will be handed over whenever the period, the working period is over, something like that. So it's just to keep things on the track, because sometimes people acting like NGO just want to get a personal gain, personal benefit, and raising money from public, and then close down the place and then run away or something. So this is just to prevent something wrong like that. So yeah, I think our government just act like in Indonesia also, they just want to make sure that you are working on the track. I believe it is just let's say not serious or something. Just do whatever we can do, not to rush to release or hand over to animals. Just work just as usual. Then I believe the government will be okay. We can continue our cooperation, something like that. So that's our opinion from Indonesia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Our next will be urban wildlife rescue.